Greetings, Malifaux fans. This is Crazy Carl from the Weird Forums, back with another Malifaux video battle report. Today was a 35 Soulstone scrap versus myself and Chris, aka Twisted Metal on the Weird Forums. I chose Outcasts and Chris had chosen Arcanists. We flipped Shared Turf War, so there are a few options to take. I was considering taking Gremlins because you get lots of models of Gremlins, and I wasn't sure what Chris was going to take. I know he had gotten the Mei Feng box set recently, so I'm assuming I'm going to be facing that. So lots of constructs, high armor stuff, things like that. So what I decided to do to kind of out-meta him, I decided to go with the Victorias, and I think it was a pretty good choice. So I took the Vix with the no student of conflict. I took the Vix with the Avatar attached. I took 2 Ronin, Taylor, and the Free Core Librarian. I took Breakthrough, and I can't remember the other one. The other one was, Gather Soulstones. Because I figured with the Ronins I could, kind of switch things up a little bit, and it could work out pretty well in my favor. And I really, really like the Librarian just synergizes so well with the entire crew. All the hard to kill models, the Vix being able to share the healing. It's just an excellent model. Plus you get the 7th card, and 7 cards is pretty important, even if you have to discard one. Chris kind of surprised me and chose to take Marcus. He took Marcus with the Jackalope, Karis with a Student of Conflict attached, which you can see down in the corner there. He took Willie the Demolitionist from book 4, and then 4 Night Terrors. So very interesting crew. He really wanted to give Willie out a tryout because Willie just seems really, really cool. He looked kind of meh to me, but he's only a 6 Soulstone model, so I mean, really, what's the big deal? It's not a big deal. It's a Slurrid. That's the way you can look at it. Chris, after the game, told me he had considered taking Slurrids instead of the Night Terrors. But with Turf War, I think you want the extra significant model, so I think he made a pretty good choice there. You can see Karis up in the tower, and this has been pretty standard, because I think I've played Chris a few games now with Marcus, and almost every game he's taking Karis and the Student of Conflict, and I think they're pretty much a must-take. And Marcus is good, but Karis with fast is just incredibly powerful, especially the way things have been panning out for him. He's had a nice big thing for them to sit Karis on top of and then just kind of do whatever he wanted. Chris took Primal Source, the thing where you need to turn things into beasts and then kill them, and then Sabotage, which, as you will see, is on this big tall building here, which his Night Terrors were easily able to grab on turn 1. The Jackalope moved up and enabled a charge lane for Marcus, because Marcus is able to Wild Heart and moved himself up there to a nice position. Willie, you can see him underneath the bridge that was in the center of the board. He tossed out a Dynamite Charge. And the way that works is if anything passes, it's kind of like a shafted marker, but better maybe? I don't know. Anything passes within 2 inches of it flips a card. If it's a tome, it does a 3-inch pulse of 3 damage. If it's a Joker, it's a 5-inch pulse of 5 damage. So it can be very, very deadly and very, very cool stuff. Chris placed that right next to my Vic, which I think was really good positioning, right next to my Vic, and I had a Ronin sitting right next to it, so really good positioning for there. I just kind of moved my crew up. I tried to spread my Vics out a little bit to give me a little bit of a wider threat arc, and then I basically put a Ronin on either side of them, and decided to march Taylor right up in the middle with the Free Core Librarian, just kind of sitting back to support. Because Chris's crew is so fast, I didn't know where he was going to try and go, not exactly sure what he's going to try and do. So I placed the Ronins out on the side, kind of as bait to try and draw something in, and then hopefully run in and kill it. Karis, on the other hand, just got fast from the Student of Conflict, which I wasn't sure what he was thinking about doing that there, but he did, and it didn't really do a whole heck of a lot. Karis just flew out and I think made Flame Pillars. It wasn't very effective. I was expecting him to move up and then take a vantage point up on probably on the bridge or something like that, but whatever, that's what he did. So here you can see again just a better shot of Willie under the bridge and the positioning of the Dynamite marker. So basically, if either the Ronin or the Vic moved, it was going to set off the Dynamite, which could do a lot of damage to both of them. And if anything else happened to move there, then that'd also be pretty deadly. As it were, not really an issue. The Ronin ended up falling to Marcus, because Marcus charged in and killed it off. He was actually able to, it actually worked out really well for him. My hard to kill worked against me. He was able to get his Primal Source off fairly easily because I went down to 1 wound, and then he was able to kill me off on another attack. But that meant I decided to move in my my Vic, and I was actually able to skirt the Dynamite, which was nice, and I took a good chunk of 4 wounds off of Marcus with one of my attacks, so worked out pretty well for me. Here you can see the aftermath of turn 2. Taylor moved in. You'll notice that Willie isn't there anymore. It's because Taylor went in and killed him. However, I think Taylor took a shot to the face from Willie, which did quite a few damage to her, and then a Dynamite Blast, and then Willie's Dynamite, when he dies, his his wagon falls over, and if you flip cards that have a high enough value, it's a 7 plus, I think, the number of blast markers that are already out, and it can continue dropping them out. The blast markers then hit, whatever, and he got tailored onto 1 wound between those, the attack and that, and another dynamite that he had set off there to try and keep me away from it, and then he did 6 damage to one of my Vics, so my Vics were hurting pretty bad. The Night Terrors just kind of moved up into the corner because they weren't really sure where they wanted to go. And Chris eventually decided to go to the other corner of the board. So he was kind of splitting up Marcus on one side and then the Night Terrors on the other, trying to divide my attention long enough to get the turf war. My Librarian tried to heal up the Vix, only got 1 wound off, and then tried to heal Taylor twice, but only healed 1 and hit the Black Joker the second time. So very unfortunate for me, but what are you going to do? The Ronin that I had left sitting on the right side of the board decided to just move up towards Karis. I didn't want to let Karis just sit there and do whatever she wanted and keep me from getting to that side of the board. And I figure Ronin's survivable enough that he could probably make it over. And he's got to go through harmless duels just to get to it, and it's got a reasonably high defense. So I figured that if nothing else, especially with the cover there, that he'd be in pretty good shape. But as it were, Karis next turn got a shot off on Taylor to try and finish her off. Got her down to 1 wound. And then got the turn it up trigger and attack that Ronin and flip 2 12s. Fortunately, I was able to cheat in a 13 to stop it, but Kalis was able to kill off Taylor fairly easily. Here you can see my Vix. They moved in. And this is the turn where turn 3 where Karis killed off Taylor. Such weird names in this game. I love it. The Vix companioned the Gun Vic, attacked once, I think missed. Used Sisters in Battle to get the +2 damage spell off, and then swapped the other Vic over, and the other Vic was able to easily kill off Marcus and the totem at the cost of a couple Soulstones. But at this point, Chris was down to like 2, and I had like 6 left, so I wasn't in very bad shape. The Student of Conflict and Karis relocated to try and keep me out of his deployment zone up on that little tower there. But I was nonplussed and just moved up one of my Ronins to kind of threaten him next turn. I double moved and hoped to be within melee range, but I wasn't able to, which was very unfortunate for me. But I figured next turn I'd be able to walk in. As it were, it didn't quite work out that way. Chris got a bunch of attacks off and got my Ronin down to 1, but didn't kill it, which was nice for me. I moved her around and it was on turn 4. The Ronin didn't die, which was very important. As you'll see soon. The Ronin, he flipped a Black Joker for one of his castings of Immolate, so he wasn't able to call out the Ronin. So what that meant is the Night Terrors fled off into the corner of the board, which you can see there, and I decided that I needed to try and kill them off with the Vix. So what I did is, since the Vix had gotten both of their manifest requirements, I companioned them, walked one over twice, and then swapped places with the other one, with the other's activations. I think the Sword Vic walked over, the Gun Vic walked over, the Sword Vic swapped, then with 0 action manifested, walked once, and then 0 action manifested, charged, and between whirlwinds and extra charges and just having an extra 2 AP to attack with, I was able to kill off all 4 of the Night Terrors, which meant, I think, 8 attacks between the 2 AP, which was pretty good. However, the problem is I had to manifest as a 0 action, which meant I couldn't cast the Vix spell R-Kill, which lets them swap places with any model that's engaged with an enemy model, and I just wanted to swap with the Ronin that I had engaged with Karis, and then just kill Karis, and that would have been game because he would have had no models left. The Vix would have taken a few damage, but it's not really that big of a deal. I wasn't overly concerned. So, as it was, the Ronin sitting there next to the Student and Karis. The reason I did that was just in case Karis decided to fly away. I just wouldn't let her do that because I didn't want that to happen. What happened is I moved the Student over, just got a couple attacks, or the Ronin over and got a couple attacks on the Student. I didn't want to attack Karis because the Student was down at 1 wound and would have just died. Sorry, the Ronin was down at 1 wound and would have just died. So in this way, if Karis won initiative, she could not fly. She could fly away, and I'd still be engaged with the Ronin, which is really all I needed. I needed to be engaged with the Ronin. The Ronin needed to be engaged so I can move the Vix over there. But fortunately for me, I still had this Librarian left, which I hoped would be able to catch up with Karis wherever she went. I assumed he wouldn't go back into the deepest, darkest corners of his deployment zone, so I moved Karis over to try and, the Librarian over to try and engage Karis. I'm sorry, I'm very bad at speaking tonight. So as it ended up not mattering, I was worried that the Student and Karis might kill off the Ronin, but ended up not mattering. Chris flipped an 8 for his initiative on turn 5, and I Soulstoned and was able to flip a 11, which meant I activated the Vix and cast R-Kill, which Chris said, "What?" I wasn't exactly sure what it did. I read it to him, and he's like, "Oh, that's game," because I had 5 Soulstones left and a full activation with the Vix. So I ended up getting 4 points for Turf War, 2 points for Gather Soulstones, 2 points for Breakthrough, so 8 versus Chris's 2 for Sabotage. So it was a really close game up until the end, kind of. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it too, and I'll see you next time.